Let us have a look. Diablo 4 quarterly update, September 2020. This was posted by the man, the myth, the legend, David Kim himself? Yeah, well, this is bound to be good. For those of you unfamiliar, David Kim once upon a time was in charge of multiplayer balance in StarCraft 2. Because of that, 2/3 of the community permanently hated David Kim. Because whenever he buffed Terran, Protoss and Zerg would be upset. Whenever he nerfed Zerg players would, everyone would always be upset. Everyone always hated on David Kim. These days, ever since David Kim moved over to the Diablo team, they have changed the name of the person doing the balance updates from David Kim to the balance team, which is really clever. Pretty sure that's the way to do it. Because David Kim, it felt like he had a bounty on his head, man. Like the way that people were treating him in the StarCraft community. It was kind of nasty. But anyways, he works on Diablo now. So Diablo 4 quarterly update, September 2020. I have not seen any of the previous quarterly updates. So we'll see how this goes. Table of contents. Wait, how long is this? Okay, there's a whole lot. All right, let's have a look. To the Diablo community, hello and welcome to a new installment of our quarterly Diablo 4 developer updates. We enjoyed hearing your thoughts on our last blog and have followed many of the discussions it kicked off within the community. It's very encouraging for us to hear that you appreciate the steady update cadence and the behind-the-scenes look at our early work. We're also excited about all the positive reactions we're seeing to the art, cinematics, and the additions of open-world gameplay to the Diablo franchise. Gotta say, the art and the cinematics, from what I've seen for Diablo 4 so far, absolutely top tier. Especially that cinematic that they showed at BlizzCon. I mean, I made a video about Diablo 4 when they announced it back then, but it's really good. Like, the art style looked really, really good. So the team has poured over a lot of constructive feedback regarding the current direction of itemization, and we're looking to give you an update on items later in the year. Some of the progress we've made will speak directly to the questions we've seen raised in the community, so stay tuned. I couldn't be more excited to share the details in today's update. Our lead systems designer, David Kim, will take a look or a deep dive in the ins and outs of the new talents. And okay, we're currently place testing new. Okay, thank you for your continued feedback. Okay, thank you. Thank you, game director. Alrighty, so skills and talents. Today we're going to look at the skills and talents, a topic many of you have asked about. But first, a quick update on the things we've shared with a capital S in our previous development blogs. Okay, so I have not seen any of the previous development blogs. Have you guys read any of them? So one thing I don't like in Diablo 3 regarding legendary items is that none of them actually are any legendary at all. You can loot all of them very easily. And it always, it felt more like a regular drop than a legendary drop. So we're exploring some big changes in this space for two reasons. We agree with the feedback that a character's power is currently too dependent on items. We plan to put more of the player's power back into the character to make build choices more impactful, rather than have the majority of players player power rather come from the items they have equipped. That said, it's important that we strike the right balance so that itemization choices always feel meaningful. I actually really like I was a little hesitant when I came from Diablo 3 to Path of Exile, but I actually really like the way that Path of Exile does this. I think it's a pretty cool concept where you put gems inside of your gear and you have different links and the links affect the different skills and stuff. I think it's really neat. One thing that a lot of people don't like about Diablo 3 is, kind of you're very limited in what you can actually do. Obviously there's some variety, but there's not nearly as much of it as in Path of Exile. And Path of Exile obviously is going to be the main competitor to Diablo. So we'll see. Anyways, we've also had a very mixed team feedback regarding core itemization. We're currently looking at how best differentiate our various item qualities. For example, should magic quality items have a higher affix stats than rare items? You can expect to hear more about legendary items in our next blog. Okay, so new skill system. As Lewis, I don't know, mentioned, we have made some major changes to the Diablo 4 skills and talent systems. Oh my god. Wait, it's an actual tree? Did someone have to get this blog post out and they just opened up Microsoft Paint and just smacked the items on there? That's how I would draw this up, if I had an idea about a skill talent system and a talent tree in general. This is how I would make it as well. All right, anyways. Right, the skill system progression felt too simple, which created issues where a player would have no meaningful meaningful reason to spend their skill points. With this valuable feedback in mind, we have been iterating on a new skill system. So one thing I really like in Path of Exile is the skill tree. For those of you that have never seen the skill tree in Path of Exile before, let me show you a screenshot. This is what it looks like. It's extremely overwhelming when you first get into it, so I'm pretty sure Blizzard isn't going to be that extreme about the skill tree. But essentially the way it works is that every character, every class you can play starts off in a different location. So say you play a character, like one of the classes, you start off over here. Early on, you have access to all of those class-specific ones, but as you level up, you get access to different areas and different quadrants of this skill tree. And then in combination of the skills that you can put on your gear and the gems and stuff, it creates a ton of variety, which I think is really, really neat. Now, the only downside of a lot of this is that a lot of these little sockets are pretty much useless, or at least they're not exciting. It's not like you level up and you're like, oh yes, I get +3 strength or whatever. Nobody really gets excited about that. So I wouldn't be surprised if Blizzard is gonna do a similar approach, but have more meaningful talents. I can imagine. This one kind of feels like you're locked into certain branches though, but anyhow. As you can see from the screenshot below, we have separate sections for skills and passives in our freshly painted skill tree. Take a look. Okay, so this is an actual in-game screenshot. There's no way this is finalized though. Yeah, there's no way that is finalized. So this is the Sorceress. Okay, so this is one of the classes. Okay, so the Sorceress skill tree. The branches contain skills and skill upgrades, while the roots contain powerful passive effects. Okay. So this reminds me a little bit of minor glyphs and major glyphs in World of Warcraft and stuff. All right. The upper skills section is where you will spend the skill points that you earn by leveling up. Here you unlock brand new skills, unlock additional functionality for these skills, and unlock passive points that you can then spend on the lower passive section of the tree. So there's charged bolts, releases 6 bolts of lightning that course around in an erratic pattern, dealing 18 to 22 damage each. You can spend skill points on square nodes to unlock new active skills for your character. Okay, so this is going to be both improvements to your different abilities and then also the unlocking of actual abilities. So I guess all of the squares are actual abilities. I think they have to be very careful that they don't limit characters too much. Because one of the reasons why a lot of people love playing Path of Exile is because if you have literally any fantasy about any RPG character that you want to play, it can kind of be done, you know? If you want to play a wizard and you only want to play the classical elemental wizard, you can do that. But you can also play a melee wizard if you really want to, you know? Which is maybe a little bit strange. But there's a lot of cool moves that you can make. So I think variety is going to be pretty important here. Yeah, so this is all pre-alpha, by the way. So alpha is not even out yet. Beta is probably not going to be out for another couple years. So there will be a lot of iterations that they'll make. So you can spend skill points on the square nodes, right? Spend points on circular upgrade nodes to enhance active skills you have unlocked. Okay, right. As you explore branches of the tree, you will find passive points. So passive points are things like overcharge, critical hit effect, lightning damage has a 3% chance to create crackling energy. Crackling energy gives 25 mana when you move near it. Okay. All right. I mean, I don't mind the concept of a tree. I just kind of wish that the branches may be connected in other ways as well. Because it seems like right now, if you go down this path, you have to kind of finish those branches. Can you jump in between? Or would you have to begin at the beginning again? I think so, but anyways, the skill tree you see above consists of many specific nodes, a sample of which you can see in a screenshot. Wait, what? Oh, wait, no, never mind, it's screenshots above. If we imagine every single node on that massive skill tree affecting different skills in different ways, the path that you decide to take will determine big power increases and playstyle choices. I don't know exactly how it works in Path of Exile. Are there so-called best builds in PoE? I guess so, right? So one thing that I always get a little bit worried about when I see something like this is that a lot of people, when you want to group up with them, right, they're going to ask you to run the most optimal build. It's what happens a lot in say, World of Warcraft. Like, I remember back in the day when I played a lot during Wrath of the Lich King, I really liked playing Beast Mastery.
Detected.
Here we go again.
Hey, thank you, Quack. Welcome back. I really liked playing a Beast Mastery Hunter. I had a bunch of Spirit Beasts and everything, which took forever to acquire. But in raiding, Beast Mastery was pointless because no guild would take you if you weren't playing. I think it was Survival at the time, which then was a ranged spec. But anyways, that's always what I'm getting, like, what I get a little bit worried about when you have limited choices. I mean, obviously in PoE there's going to be best builds as well, but yeah, I don't know how you could avoid an optimal build. Obviously, there's always going to be the one optimal build. It kind of comes down, I guess, to like having that kind of thing freshened up and like improved constantly, you know? Anyways, so the passive part of the system is where you find more general upgrades to your character. These effects are not specific to particular skills, therefore the skill tree will have a good mix of all types of different choices for players to make. One last thing we want to point out is that players will not be able to acquire every skill tree node. We're currently aiming for 30 to 40% of the nodes filled in for the end game, so that players can have a very distinct and different way to build their character. Okay. All right. Lowko, I think the major point to take away here is that there's a balance issue. I think the way they design the tree doesn't matter for that. True. I don't know. It always kind of feels a little boring when everyone's playing the same style, especially when you go on Twitch. Like, I remember when Diablo was still streamed a lot on Twitch, especially in the earlier days. For example, every single barbarian that you tuned into on Twitch was playing the Whirlwind Barbarian. That was kind of just the thing that everyone was running. And I occasionally watch PoE on Twitch, just when I want to have some noise in the background or whatever, and it seems like everyone's running a different build. You know? And, yeah, I don't know. Maybe not at a high level. I don't really know. I haven't played enough PoE to really tell, but that's still true for Barbs? Every melee character plays Whirlwind in PoE right now, too? Okay. Most of the time it's the same, actually, in PoE, too? All right. Yeah, I wish that wasn't necessarily the case, but I guess you're always going to have something that will be optimal over others, right? Anyways, so Sorcerer and Enhancement System. Many of you might remember the Barbarian's unique arsenal system, their ability to carry and smoothly swap between multiple deadly weapons. Okay, yeah, so this is from when they first announced it, which is almost a year ago, actually. Ooh. We believe that unique class mechanics with very different strength and playstyles compared to other classes will make exploring the different classes and playing the game much more fun. For the Sorceress, we have been trying out the enchantment system. This is how it works. What are we looking at? The Ball Lightning skill, unlike other classes, each Sorceress skill has 2 possible effects. Sorceress skills can be placed into 2 locations, an active skill slot that every other class has access to, and an enchantment slot rather. If you place a skill in the enchantment slot, you can no longer use it as an active skill, but your character instead gains a secondary bonus power. Okay. So wait, how do we see this? So there's this skill called Ball Lightning. Conjure a ball of lightning that slowly moves forward, zapping enemies. Or if you put it in a passive slot, when crackling energy would form, ball lightning is formed instead. Ball lightning no longer collapses into crackling energy. Ah, okay. So that would essentially double all of the different options. Like basically, I guess what I'm getting to, and I haven't really thought about this all too much, so my thoughts are kind of all over the place about this, but basically, I would love to see a ton of variety and a lot of options that are actually good at a high level. And I'm sure that Blizzard wants that as well, right? But I also would like all of the upgrades to actually be meaningful, because a lot of the things, especially in PoE, which is what I keep coming back to, are just not exciting upgrades at all. So as long as they're, like, you know, every time you gain a new slot available, right, or you gain a new ability and a new like level up or skill point or whatever you want to call it, as long as that it's impactful, I think that would be cool. Okay. Right. So sorcerer skills can be placed in 2 locations, right? You can no longer use it as an active skill, but your character instead gains a secondary bonus power. Have a good one, Queller. Take care. Yeah, diversity is super important for sure. Look, I want to have that tree as a wallpaper. Dude, Blizzard does make some phenomenal 2D art, especially. Like, there's a couple of guys that work at Blizzard. I don't really know exactly what their names are these days. But I remember back in the day for Heroes of the Storm, for example, it was always, what was his name? Mr. Jack or something? That was drawing up pretty much all of those 2D art character models. He was absolutely amazing. Like, they have the industry best, I think, with like 2D art. It's really good. Anyhow, let's scroll down. So I like this. I like this idea, right? More variety seems like a good idea. I don't know if he still works at Blizzard. I don't actually know. Okay, so the power you gain from enhancement, or enchantments rather, I keep saying enhancements, is extremely significant, and you can currently make builds around your enchantments, your active skills, or a mix of both. Aha, alright. So that's like an active version of the ability, and this is like a passive version, I guess. Here's an example of this system using the Meteor skill. Meteor allows you to call a fiery chunk of rock from the sky. If you choose to slot it as an enchantment, you won't be able to control the meteors, but they'll fall onto the enemies periodically. The skill is still under development and may be different in the final game. Right. I see. Yeah, so this is probably then going to be tied in again with gear as well, right? So you're going to be able to run some pretty crazy builds. Man, working on this kind of game must be an absolute blast, right? Like, it is someone's job out there to just try crazy stuff. Just try different things. Pretty great. We've been testing this class mechanic for a while now, and the team feedback has been really positive. This new system now empowers you to make some interesting choices to strategize around which skills would want to slot in as an enchantment, as you won't be able to put one skill in both places. We are also exploring a druid-specific class mechanic as well, and we'll have more information on that to share in the future. Oh yeah, they're certainly under a lot of pressure. I mean, there's no crazy time crunch yet for this game, I can imagine, right? But it is very well known, especially in video game development, that crunch time can last months. And apparently it gets pretty bad. All right, so this is what I'm interested in. So a lot of the stuff has to do with leveling up. You can usually level up in like maybe a couple of days, maybe a week or so, right? Depending on how fast and how much you play. The real thing that is super important in a game like this is endgame, right? And I think that's where a lot of it was missed with Diablo 3, especially when they... Like, remember when Diablo 3 first came out? Like, it's a good game now, but when it first came out, it had, like, the real money auction house and a whole lot of other things that I thought were kind of lame. Like, kind of lame. Very lame. You know, like, endgame progression is super important. Yeah, so if I understand correctly, this enchantment system over here is now only for the sorcerer, which I guess is the class that they've, you know, finished the most or like, you know, polished the most up to this point. If they have like a unique system like this for every single one of the classes, that would be pretty neat. Yeah, the real money auction house was something, huh? But there wasn't really like much to make you come back in Diablo 3 when it first came out. Like they missed a lot of endgame content. I think that's where they kind of dropped the ball, you know? Anyway, so endgame progression system. Lastly, we have been hard at work on our endgame character progression system. This important feature is going to take a little more time. It won't be in the next block, but we wanted to mention it here because it will be the other significant source of power that comes from your class. The system is intended to provide more depth and replayability than what Paragon currently offers in Diablo 3. Okay, we and many Blizzard gamers have talked about the concept of easy to learn, difficult to master. We believe that the endgame progression system is where the difficult to master component will come in and should meet the expectations of the most hardcore Diablo players out there. Okay, so I guess with Diablo 3, that was like not really a priority when they were making it because it clearly wasn't done when they first released the game. It took a long time before they added that in. I'm glad to see that this is now already a work in progress, probably like 2+ years, maybe even more before the actual release of this game, you know? Yeah, the whole Diablo 3 launch was absolutely horrible as well. What was it? Error 37? Error 37 was something, huh? We are excited to read through the feedback from the community regarding our revamped skill and talent system, as well as our new sorceress enchantment system. We are always reading through the comments on our forums, Reddit, social media, and more of your feedback. As always, please remember that none of this is final as the game is actively in development, right? Your constructive discussions around these features will help Diablo's forward development the most. Okay, thank you, David Kim. We love you. Come back to StarCraft, please. We love you very much, but please, David, come on. No, I'm just kidding. Good to see that he's got a lead role right now in this game. Pretty awesome. All right. I mean, there's really not that much to go off of here. Can we find like the previous quarterly update? Is that something I can easily find? Can I go like news Diablo 4? Yeah, so they posted something in February as well. So this is, yeah, okay, so it's been a little bit. So it's actually only been one update since. All right, so this was posted in February. Right, so this is all regarding what they did back then. Okay, so UI design, controller support, and co-op. For anyone who isn't familiar with the user interface design, our team is responsible for communicating game systems to the player and providing players with the input they need to engage with those systems, right? As you might imagine, that means that we iterate our UI regularly. As systems change, the UI changes with it, right? So I played the Diablo 4 beta at BlizzCon. It was great. It was really fun. I actually had a really good time. Obviously, it was very limited back then, but it felt really good. One of the things I always liked about Diablo is just how snappy everything feels. Blizzard does that really well in their games in general. Like, character responsiveness and just, like, you know, impactfulness. Is that even a word? Anyways, like, the way, like, say you use a fireball, it feels good to cast a fireball, you know? And there's, like, characters are very responsive to what you're telling them to do, which, yeah, is very critical, but a lot of games don't get that right. Yeah, it's juicy. Their games got juicy. So, I like that about Blizzard games, and Diablo 4 had that right from the get-go, which is nice. So we saw a lot of feedback around the inventory, either regarding its coloring, the style size of the item, okay, overall aesthetic, right. So all of the aesthetics are obviously going to be, you know, work in progress, but that looks great, right? I mean, someone's probably going to complain about it, but that looks great to me. We've also toned down the brightness and saturation of the icon backgrounds. Okay. So this is like another big thing that a lot of people complain about in Diablo 3. I didn't play a lot of like... Juiciness is actually a word used in game design. All right. So in Diablo 2, the game is really dark and spooky and scary, right? Like Diablo 2 could kind of be labeled as a horror game. Diablo 3, however, is closer to Overwatch, which is not necessarily a bad thing, like for game design per se, but I do think it's bad for a game literally called Diablo, right? This game is supposed to be dark, it's supposed to be scary, and Diablo 3 just isn't. So one big thing that they did in Diablo 4, at least in the alpha thing that I got to play, is that it's very dark. Like, it's actually a scary game. And one of the big things is obviously tuning down saturation. So it seems like they are very much so in touch with that. And they know that they have to bring that, you know, they have to bring that down. Yeah, you have to have that spooky melancholy. Exactly. Like, it's important. So this way we made rarity indicators visually more subtle, but hopefully with a wider range and accessibility, right? So I guess this over here is what the new one looks like. And this one is the more bright one. There's going to be some colorblind people that'll have some trouble with some of this. But as long as it's an accessibility setting, I don't think anyone's going to have too much trouble, right? Like, it seems like a small thing, but yeah. We received some non-specific feedback about the inventory, but we had guesses to what people were reacting to based on our own observations. We've reorganized the layout of the inventory to what is hopefully a more balanced composition, and across the board, we're looking at the color spread and the contrast levels of individual UI pieces. So this looks way more contrasted than that, though. Am I crazy? It's kind of funny. Yeah, that looks way more contrasted. I thought they were saying, like, this is the old color and this is the new color right there at the bottom, but I may be misunderstanding. We hope to both hone in on our goal of gritty, realistic UI while balancing ease of use. As the inventory screen is something our players will probably interact with the most, we really appreciate your feedback in this area. See, I'm not an expert when it comes to this kind of stuff. I look at that and I think, it looks pretty good. Right? It's a little hard for me to tell if this is good or bad. Like I'm certainly not an expert here. It looks good to me. Could be a little more dark, I guess, but it also has to do with where this character was standing at that time, right? Like, I think it would probably be darker if this guy would be standing in a cave. Yeah, it does feel a little like a browser game in this screenshot. But obviously this is just like, you know, the right 30% of the screen. It could certainly be a little grittier. What's going on, Zion? Thank you for the 7 months. Welcome. A surprising number of players asked for the option to rebind their primary skill to anything but the left mouse button so that they could separately move from... Okay. Adding more... Okay, yeah. So that's one of those things. Left mouse button had a skill attached to it. And I guess a lot of people want to be able to rebind that. All right. I like that UI look, actually. I don't know if I like these circles very much. It seems like the glowing effect on these globes is a little cheap. But I do love the idea of this UI in general. It's like nice and clean, but still, you know, gritty. Is that a word as well? Lowko, I will hate the one item for one slot till the end of time. The inventory system from Diablo 2 added so much character. I am not familiar, like I haven't played a lot of Diablo 2, so what is the inventory system of Diablo 2 then? Is it more like the Path of Exile one, where like big items take up more space? Because I do like that. It's like Tetris? Yeah. I do like that in Path of Exile. So like some slots in Path of Exile, like say a chest piece, will take up more slot than like more pieces in your inventory than a dagger. I do like that, actually. I just hate how you couldn't rotate items to make them fit. A gem takes up 1 slot, but armor would take up 6. Yeah. I agree. I do like that system. Maybe they should give that a try as well, especially if that was already in Diablo 2. I don't feel too strongly about it though. Like you seem to like word it pretty powerfully there, but I don't really feel that strongly about it, but I get what you're trying to say though. I'm not really someone who really likes messing with my inventory too much. But yeah, I can see the benefit of both. Anyways, so what was it? So we went through a lot of iteration on this piece of UI. The left corner configuration came about because we wanted to try clearing the central combat area and freeing up the bottom of the screen where the isometric camera already sees less. However, based on usability test results, the team's feedback, and the feedback we've received from the demo, we're going to move the default positioning of the action bar back to the bottom center for PC players. This right here feels more like a console kind of game. I do like this better. It's funny how like I never really think about these kind of things too much, but I think I do prefer it this way. Yeah, this feels more console-y, phony, right? You like it better on the side? I think this looks, aesthetically speaking, more pleasing, but this will be much more practical. Because like when you're playing on a big screen, right? Like on a, say you play a game like this on the couch on the television, right? And you like sit like a couple meters away. You can see everything in one glance, but oftentimes on the PC, like it would suck if something's happening over there in the top right-hand section and you have to glance it if you have enough mana. You know, like you actually have to like move your head or your eyeballs. I would even, like I was that idiot who played with their action bars in the middle of the screen in World of Warcraft. Just because I didn't want to, you know, I didn't want to move away too far from the center of the screen. But, yeah. Yeah, moving your eyes, man. That's a lot of effort. Like, this will look nicer, but I think this will be more practical when you're actually playing. You mean like the StarCraft 2 minimap? Well, with the StarCraft 2 minimap, it's the same thing, right? But everyone plays with the same thing in SC2, so you just got to do what you got to do. you gotta do with what you're given. I think the middle one will probably be more practical. Yeah, so this is what I mean, right? So this is an eye tracker. The movement required is just less practical in the bottom left-hand corner if you're sitting on a computer. Like, it just makes more sense to dart, you know, to the bottom rather than, like, it's less distance. I know this is the biggest first world problem ever, but this kind of shit doesn't matter, obviously. So that's not all the... Oh, dude, they're actually bringing this up. I love it. Dude, this is exactly what I was talking about. Dude, I'm so smart. Someone hire me, please. That's not all, though. The preferred position changes to the left corner when people play further away from the screen. This doesn't come as a surprise given the shift in viewing angle. Illustrative diagram below, not to scale. Okay, I'm glad they didn't put this to scale. Glad they pointed it out. But it does mean that the center configuration isn't a majority when we're on a PC. Or, yeah, okay. So while we... Yeah, okay, good. Supporting controllers on the PC. I mean, who's gonna play this on a controller on a PC? Like, some people will, but... Excuse me. So, this is the first time a Diablo game is being developed simultaneously for both PC and consoles, but the decision to support controller input on a PC is what caused a greater paradigm shift for us. We wanted to give players the ability to switch between the two options freely, so our UI needed to be unified enough that swapping hardware inputs on the fly wouldn't throw people completely off. A unified UI means their layouts are more grid-based for the ease of navigation, but it doesn't necessarily mean an identical interaction flow. As someone who's like a pretty hardcore PC nerd, I immediately get like a little bit, you know, I got a little bit anxious thinking about the fact that they're designing this for like console in the same moment as they're designing it for PC. Just because, you know, I don't need to have big shiny buttons. I can drag a small shiny button. That said, I'm sure this can be done, right? So we tried to maintain this sort of approach of keeping established keyboard and mouse conventions while creating controller-friendly shortcuts on alternate flows throughout the game. Controller support shouldn't be a limiter on how complex our game can be. Yeah, so if that is the case, like, that would be the dumbest thing ever. Controller support shouldn't be a limiter on how complex our game can be. Imagine that. Like, they want to add something more complex to the game, but they can't because of people using their little thumbs. Yeah, oh no, we can't do it. It just means we have more paths that we need to consider. It's not a simple undertaking. Yeah, right. But I mean, this is why you have lots of people working on a game, right? So you can have, you know, several people working on several different tasks. Yeah, opposable thumbs, man. They're both are like top apex skill and also like our limit in game design, apparently. All right, couch co-op UI. We know that many players enjoyed couch co-op in Reaper of Souls, and that the biggest complaint was the inability to do anything while one local player had a UI screen open. When the topic of couch co-op came up early in development, we looked at the number of people who utilized this feature in Diablo 3 and found that the two-player setup accounted for an overwhelming majority. Right. If I were to make a guess, that makes a lot of sense, right? Like, on the PC, you're not likely to play, you know, couch co-op with someone, right? Where you like give your brother the controller that's not plugged in. You're not really likely to do that on the PC, but on the PlayStation or the Xbox or whatever, it makes a lot of sense. So for Diablo 4, we decided to focus on improving the favorite two-player co-op experience and set up our core progression UI screens such that they can be opened independently or at the same time. That is really cool. I mean, I'm never going to make use of this, but I love it. Like, for this to be useful, you actually need to have a spouse that likes playing video games or, like, you know, friends. You know, I don't have either. No, but this is great. Obviously, for obvious reasons, this is something someone wants, right? We iterate on the interface regularly, and ease of interaction comes before visual polish, but we still welcome impressions at any stage. Everyone approaches the game with a different set of experiences and consequently different expectations for how things should look or work. And it's always interesting to hear these perspectives. Thanks for reading. Cool. Cool. So wait, oh, this is just thanks for reading by one of the guys. Monster family design and highlight. Okay, what's this then? Don't be scared, guys. They're just monsters, okay? It's fine. Okay. This is pretty neat, man. I mean, they're not moving around a whole lot yet, but I'm sure that will be that will be something. So, if you had the chance to watch our world, and no, I didn't. In our various panels, we covered different monster families, such as the Fallen. Right. So, what's a monster family, and why does it matter? So, wait, hold up. Can we? Can I have a quick look at their YouTube channel? I don't know. Oh, this is unlisted. They've posted a bunch of stuff as unlisted. I was going to say. Pretty sure. Yeah, they haven't posted anything, but all right. Before we dive into specific mechanics of the cannibal family, let's take a moment. The cannibal family. Fantastic. Let's take a moment to talk about our design philosophy when it comes to monsters. In the bestiary of Diablo 3, we classified monsters into a broad category like demon, unholy, undead, humanoid, or wildlife. These monsters served as an anchor to the story by adding to the overall setting and tone, which made the whole game feel complete. In Diablo 4, the vast and seamless world we created necessitates a slightly different approach to world building and storytelling. It requires building Sanctuary as a living, breathing character, especially through its creatures, since we have everything from the serene ocean cliffsides to the gaping maw of hell itself. What does that mean for the bestiary? Well, to fill those areas and make them feel real, we definitely needed to have a more non-aggressive wildlife than in Diablo 3, but never fear, we have plenty of monsters. Right. Every monster has been reimagined, but in a darker, more gritty art style. Okay. So that once again comes back to like what we were saying earlier. We have lovingly handcrafted every creature you'll encounter from the ground up. That includes demons, NPCs, act bosses, and even the skittering creatures you can crush underfoot. This is definitely written by a different guy. Though we still pay tribute to some hallmark gameplay, such as the Fallen Shaman resurrecting other Fallen, we have completely reimagined things in other places. To have these creatures feel more sophisticated and robust, we designed them in what we call monster families and archetypes. Each family has a different combat style and feel. For example, the Drowned family has 5 members in various archetypes: Bruiser, Ranger Combat, Melee Combat, Swarmer, and Dungeon Boss. Alright. That looks pretty neat. Each archetype plays a different role in combat. Swarmers strike in groups, making AoE attacks feel satisfying. Bruisers are large monsters with high health values, which will make damage over time abilities feel good. Melee combat units act as a shield by standing in the way of projectiles for their ranged counterparts. Situations like this provide the player with interesting positional dilemmas if they want to focus fire on ranged units. When adding all of this together, each encounter with the Drowned will feel slightly different with regard to player positioning and choice of attack. These rich and varied combat experience are the power of a monster family. So these are the cannibals. Alrighty. I mean, we don't really need to... do we need to read this as well? Do we need, like, some scary music in the background? I feel like we do. Corpses riddled with bite marks. Splintered bones scraped clean of marrow. Tongues sawed off and eyes gouged out of their skulls. These are the bloody fingerprints the cannibals leave behind, if they leave behind anything at all. No one is certain where they came from, but some legends claim they are a former tribe of barbarians, banished from Ariat years ago. Whether their cannibalism led to their exile or developed out of desperation afterwards is unknown. The outcast brought their endless hunger to the dry steppes, and from there spread to the far corners of the world to prey on lonesome caravans and unsuspecting villages. Okay then. The few who have survived encounters with these butchers share the same stories. They tell of the mad fire that burns in the eyes of all cannibals, of how eating the flesh of their victims in battle only fuels their hunger for more. They whisper of the unlucky souls spared in the attacks, hauled off like livestock for the raiders to pick clean until their next hunt. And then they say no more. The silence speaks for them. So sometimes it is better to die than to live and remember. Man, Diablo 4 sounds kind of scary, dude. I'm not gonna lie. Alrighty. It's a little bit aggressive, huh? So, a battle for survival. Now that we've introduced some new lore about this family, we can dive into how we try to use them to give a cohesive experience narratively, while also providing the peaks and valleys of combat expected in a hack-and-slash ARPG. So, what does this mean for the cannibal combat design? Okay. There's a guy with a sword swinging it around. You can swing said guy off of the ledge as well. Nice. I feel like I've been reading for a very long time. Oh, we were actually all the way at the bottom already. So by design, the cannibal family has no range units. Instead, they spring at the player with supernatural swiftness. That's it for today. Thanks for staying a while and listening. Is Deckard Cain gonna be part of Diablo 4? That's what I need, man. Lowko, glad I tuned in on this. Never would have read this on my own. Dude, I feel like there's a lot of people that just skip these blogs altogether. Not because they're not interested in it, but because like they're kind of interested, but they just don't want to read it all. And I would be with you as well if it wasn't for the fact that I'm streaming and like, you know, I can record these kind of things. It's a little bit different. Reading takes a lot of work, man. Lowko, Deckard Cain is dead. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, he died, but, you know, we have World of Warcraft Shadowlands now. They can literally bring back any character they like that died previously. So, I would be okay, you know, with Deckard Cain returning. It's okay. It's all right. Lowko, which is your favorite class of the Diablo franchise? So, I am by no means like an expert in the Diablo franchise. Like I said, I haven't really played Diablo 2. Just because my mom didn't want, you know, me to play a game with a literal Satan on it when I was like 6 or whatever. whenever that game came out. So, I didn't get to play that when I was a kid. I played Diablo 3. I played a bunch of ARPGs, but never really Diablo 2. I always liked the Sorcerer. I thought she was pretty cool in Diablo 3. Lowko, there's a June update as well. Wait, where is it? I can't see it. Yo, Decipher, welcome back, man. Did they just not categorize it properly? Here's the June update, Lowko. Ay, ay, ay. We just keep reading, huh? Team playtesting. A word about blockout. Dude, I love seeing stuff like this. I gotta say, I really like this, you know that painting style that they used for a while where it always looks like there's a spotlight on like, you know, certain parts of the screen that, or I guess the painting that the artist wants you to focus on. That's what a lot of Diablo 4 feels like as well. It's like super dark and gritty, but like there are certain places that light up. Looks really cool. As part of development, visuals are often kept in rough form so the game team can cheaply test ideas and iterate. Right. If something isn't fun, it is much cheaper to change or discard a blockout asset than a final one. Right, makes sense. So when we share models or screenshots with you, they are often quite far along the adequate yeah, okay, of course. So obviously they're not going to be sharing things that that look absolutely terrible. Look at that. I'm glad this guy doesn't have nipples, man. That's good. Because, you know, think of the kids. That would be terrible. You can, you know, tear people's heads off and, you know, kick them out into the cliff and, like, slice them open through the middle. But nipples is where we draw the line, okay? That's disgusting. Gore is fine, guys. Maybe that's why he's so mad. Yeah, he doesn't have nipples. That would kind of suck. A couple of things have evolved with how we deliver story in Diablo 4. First, we have conversations. In Diablo 3, we relied on UI panes with a character's name and portrait. We're experimenting with a mix of tool-generated and manually choreographed cameras to tackle conversations. For simple interactions with NPCs, we bring the camera in closer to the characters, okay, while still maintaining an overall isometric feel, and use a library of animations to deliver the general gist of the conversation. For more complex conversations, we take a similar camera approach, but here the character's movement and animations are more deliberately handcrafted. Oh, okay, this is what they mean. My God, dude, that is so bloody. Alrighty then. I don't know what these guys are doing to that demon dude, but they've literally crucified him. Alrighty then. A more zoomed in overhead camera helps us deliver simple story beats. Right, this is a simple, yeah, it's just fresh meat. But a nipple is where we draw the line though. At least they don't have nipples. The second storytelling method we are developing is a real-time cutscene, or RTC. Here we grab our camera or your camera and treat the storytelling more like a movie. This is one of the things I love in stories, or like in games in general, whenever it's like lots of cutscenes, right? And Blizzard especially is very well known for having very high quality cutscenes in their games, so I'm hopeful. I like it. So we're reserving this technique for the most important story moments. Having these be real time has great advantages. We can show your character with their currently equipped armor as part of the scene. But we can also yeah, right, that's cool. I like that. I hate it whenever, like, you remember those cinematics in StarCraft 2? Whenever you like did one of the objectives and then one of the cinematic kicks in and the entire scene looks completely different. I hate that. It doesn't look very professional at all. So right now you're going to have it in real time with your actual character, which is good. I mean, I wouldn't have expected anything else by the time that this game comes out, but it's good that it's pointed out. We can also display them at your current resolution and with your currently enabled graphic settings. So they end up feeling more seamless and like part of the game, right? We showed you some of the early work on real-time in-game cinematics during the BlizzCon demo. Our cinematics and engine teams have made a lot of improvements since then, so we're excited to see a fully produced cinematic serve as the climax to the Dry Steppes experience, and the team was not disappointed.
New subscriber detected.
All right.
Half a year a part of the best community, Lozy.
Hey, thank you, Flying Dutchmore. Appreciate that, man. What's going on here? Why does the guy live inside of whatever this is? Alrighty, so next step. Man, how much reading is there? Okay, there's a little bit more reading. There's a little bit more reading, guys. Then we're all up to date on Diablo 4. We'll do it. Maybe they're balloons? No, I think they're balloons. It's not blood. Nah, I think that's, yeah. One of the main new features we are bringing to the Diablo series is the open world of Sanctuary. So while you concentrate on the story campaign and work through that, we have a variety of open world systems and pieces of content that you are also discovering along the way. If you want to take a break from the main campaign and go exploring, crafting, or PvPing, you are free to do so. During the playtest, we saw this variability in action quite a lot. On an average playthrough, team members took several hours to complete the campaign content for the region, but those who focused only on the story finished the arc in less than half of the average time, and were of course able to do the side content after that. We think the ability to approach the game with a different mix of story and side content tailored to your own appetite will make playing the campaign more enjoyable than it has been in previous ARPGs. Yeah, I 100% agree. Having an open world where you can explore at your leisure is really good. I do think it can be a little bit scary though to have an open world game, because like there's a lot of games out there that are trying to be open world and it just feels unnecessary. But I think for an ARPG, it does make sense. Yeah, like having just a seamless progression from one zone to the next is good.
OMG, it's already 6 months. Thanks for being here since the start of the pandemic. Been great to have someone to listen for the lonely nights, wink.
Thank you, Cytrex. What is ARPG? Oh, it's action role-playing game. Well, we have many open world activities such as crafting events, world PvP, and side quests. Perhaps the most popular open world feature was camps. These are locations of importance that have been overrun by enemies, which once cleansed turn into friendly outposts. Yeah, I love this. This is something they have in like The Witcher, for example. It feels like you actually, you know, have a reason to be in the world and like you actually make a change. So while there is a backstory for each camp, most of the storytelling is visual and quests don't directly send you to them. For example, one of the camps in the zone was a town afflicted by a curse that turned villagers into a pile of salt. Another was a crypt haunted by a spirit that possesses the bodies of various undead, jumping from skeleton to skeleton until you defeat him. We really dug... Yeah, so I love this. I think that's really cool. It reminded me a little bit of like the way that Guild Wars 2 does their storytelling. I don't know how many of you have played Guild Wars 2, but it's like, it's nice. Hey, thank you, Flying. Welcome, man. Thank you for the €4. Yeah, I've been reading for about an hour now. I've been talking non-stop. Anyways, so the camps start out as a hostile and turn into small hubs with waypoint and vendors after being completed. I love that. That's really good. Finally, mounts were another thing that we could obtain during the playthrough. We really liked how the open world interacts with mounts. You could get your objectives more quickly without trivializing travel or combat. Itemization for mounts also opened up a new axis of progression. One of my favorite things about mounts was customization by attaching a trophy to the saddle. Yeah. So, dude, I feel like they're on the right track, man. I'm looking forward to playing this. I really hope that they don't decide to rush this out, because there's like a lot of games where they release it significantly before it's done. Warcraft 3 Reforged. So I really hope that we're going to be seeing this game go back to the Blizzard of old, where they release it when it's finished. Like, I understand the strengths of short-term financial gains, right? Having more money in the short term will probably be appreciated by shareholders. But long term, I mean, this is an important game for Blizzard, actually, man, because they've obviously been in, like, at least from like the gaming community, I guess stock price wise and like everything else, they're doing fine. But at least as far as like their respect from the gaming community, it's been slipping over the last couple of years, right? So I really feel like Diablo 4 is gonna have to be like that turning point for them, because otherwise, I don't know, man. It's gonna be a little bit scary. So I really do hope that they, you know, are gonna be given enough time, because the concepts here that they are describing and a lot of the things that they are pointing out are really cool. I really like it. Like, I don't think there's really too much more to discuss, right? I mean, it's gonna be a while until this will come out, but most of the time, right? Obviously, it's not gonna be the developers that want to push a game out early. It's always going to be someone a little bit higher up, right? That has to get this game shipped by X date. And I think the mantra of, you know, it's done when it's done is super good.
Short-term monetary fund.
Thank you very much, Mr. Smiley. I appreciate that. Yeah, so I think it's super important, though. Like, the thing is, if you release an unpolished game, yes, you will make more money in the immediate, like, you know, couple of weeks that follow after the release, but long term it's just gonna hurt future sales, right? For obvious reasons. So I genuinely hope that they are gonna be given enough time to like finish all of these things that they're you know, planning on doing right now. Like, it would kind of suck if we hear in February, which is I think when like
more like short-term monetary scam.
It's I think like in February, right, is when they have like a BlizzCon online or something. It would kind of suck if they announce that like Diablo 4 is gonna come out in September 2021. And I know like that sounds a little bit backwards.
Cough, Bethesda, cough.
It sounds a little bit backwards, obviously, because like I want to play this and I'm really excited to be playing this, but I much prefer a finished game over a rushed game, right? Like, there's always a lot of people that get upset whenever a game, like, for example, when Cyberpunk 2077 was delayed, if you went into the Twitter comments of those tweets of them announcing that Cyberpunk was going to be delayed, there were a lot of very angry gamers. There were a lot of very angry people out there complaining that their video game that wasn't even released yet was going to be delayed. But delaying a game and taking your time to finish it is, like, the most important thing. Like, a rushed game is not really gonna be good, right? It might be good in the future, but it's not gonna be good around the release. So I genuinely hope, because I love the ideas and like the concepts that they are putting out here. I genuinely hope that they are gonna be given enough time to like finish this, you know? And actually do like a really polished product before it's gonna be out. Because, you know, that would be good. I think that's good. Like, I think that's good for everyone. Even if it's gonna cost you a little bit of money for like another year or so, it's gonna bring you a lot more money in the long run, right? And for some reason, it seems like this is not common knowledge for a lot of big investors or something. I guess they want to have a lot of their money right from the get-go, but yeah, it doesn't make a lot of sense to me. Anyhow, I think that about sums it up.